Hi guys, glad you could join me. Today we're looking at Arpwatch. It's a great tool to use when you first set up your network to enable you to know when a new device joins the network. It's helpful when you buy IoT devices and you don't know the MAC address. Sometimes it's nice to get an email with that IP address and that MAC address so you can either decide if you want to keep that device on your network or perhaps you want to give it a static IP. For the little amount of effort it takes to set this up, one should definitely try to at least get a Raspberry Pi or something along those lines that would enable you to set up Arpwatch and get a notification whenever a new device joins, especially your guest network, if you have a guest Wi-Fi. Let's go ahead and jump in. Oops, I am doing this on a CentOS server. First thing we're going to want to do is open up our terminal, and I'm going to switch over to being root, and that is just for convenience sake because we're going to run a lot of commands that we're going to need to use root privileges for. First thing, of course, yum install Arpwatch. Let's get that installed. Shouldn't take too long. It's very lightweight, and after 200 kilobytes or so, it will complete, and there we have it. Now, by default, even though this package can be run as a daemon, it needs a couple of extra parameters in order to really get it working. So go into your sysconfig, Arpwatch, file, and under here you're going to want to give it an interface. Oops, -i, eth0. If you want to give it an external email address, replace the root here with that. Otherwise, go ahead and rate the file and exit. So this step here, just make sure that the service will run at a run level of 35, and we always want it to auto start, so that's a no-brainer. Then go ahead and start it. Now, again, I'm on CentOS, so I'm using system controller. You may need to use etc init to get that started up, but pretty much the same thing. And you think it's running, but always good to check. And there it is. And I have important software updates to run. So now let's figure out what is it doing, right? So if I go to tail of our messages, I can see it is listening on eth0. And there were some other things that happened on this machine while we were running, unfortunately. But it should come up with both its own as well as the default gateway. Meanwhile, I'm also going to start Linux Mint, and that should also kick off a couple of messages here. Okay, so there's the default gateway, there's my CentOS, 183 is Linux Mint that just started, and so, I mean, there you can tell it noticed it pretty much right away without a delay, and, you know, if you really wanted to have the emails, however, so firstly, this is going to go to the mail for root. So let's just look at it. And that last email would have been this right here. So it's going to send it to root, and there's a new station. It's called Linux Mint VM.califel, and this is the IP address, this is the Ethernet address, this is the vendor that was looked up from that Ethernet address. So yes, I'm running on Parallels. And that would all come to you in an email if you go ahead and set up your mail transfer agent, MTA. And on CentOS, that defaults to postfix. And there's plenty of tutorials to set that up, so I'm not going to do that. But you can set it up to send through Gmail or through another email address you may already have, or you could set up a new one specifically for this. So I hope that helps. I hope with these few steps you're able to get this working and running for yourself, and that you know whenever a new device joins your network.